If your project is at an $11 billion total loss nearly 4 years into operation, most people will question why the system is still in business. If the said project is also aiming to turn a profit by 2024, and they just lost over $500 million in its most recent quarter, you would then question the competence or morality of those running everything. Now slap a Disney logo on the entire situation, and suddenly, the odds of it actually happening go up drastically. Disney Plus has been such an odd experience to witness in real time, because we're seeing this company's vulnerabilities in a way we haven't really noticed before. Because before this, the pure weight of the Disney name was enough to stonewall any of their competitors. So the fact that a brand with not only one of the deepest catalogs in the game, but the most recognizable branding in the world decided to get into the ever-growing market that is streaming, it was supposed to be a no-brainer that they were supposed to take over almost immediately. And to their credit, they kinda did so, quickly amassing 100 million subscriptions in a little over a year into running things, and currently being one of the most subscribed streaming platforms in the world. But Disney is unfortunately learning that their brand maybe doesn't hold the weight as what they once perceived, especially if they have multiple high-end competitors joining the game with them. Despite record-breaking growth, they have yet to turn a profit on Project Disney Plus. Now, while this direct-to-consumer endeavor has not been pulled off flawlessly by the brand, I want to first acknowledge that it's not entirely their fault. Because to say that the streaming game is diluted nowadays is as much as an understatement to say that Jeff Bezos is rich. Every entertainment company around is looking to test their pull in these markets, to the point that the inherent benefits of a convenient and cheaper alternative to cable is looking more inconvenient and expensive by the day. And with bundles becoming a more prominent option to buying individual services, we have basically just circled around back to square one with this pseudo cable system. I mean, thinking purely from a consumer point of view, with the abundance of options out there that all total up to costing more than a down payment on a house, what is really enticing you to have brand loyalty nowadays? Like, other than the long-term players like Netflix or the platforms with these additional benefits like Amazon Prime, what is preventing you from just taking advantage of that lack of contractual obligation? Just buying a service for a month, watching what you want to watch, then dipping onto the next until your favorite show comes back on. And the answer to that is absolutely nothing. Literally nothing more than the laziness of having to go in and cancel your subscription is preventing the average user from scalping certain services when they feel like it. And this is contributing to a couple of issues as far as profitability. When it comes to a company wanting to indulge in this market, things are just getting way too oversaturated. Plain and simple. To the point that consumers have a lower tolerance as to what they deem acceptable, as they just aren't as enticed to stay if the service isn't providing the entertainment they need. And that's just those who are taking the legal route at things. This all leads back to one of the biggest players in the topic of this video, Disney Plus. The system has gone through a cycle of different approaches to push itself above that profit line, and it seems like with each new strategy, they, like many other streaming services, are getting rid of the inherent pluses that once came with buying a streaming service. Coming out the gate, Disney Plus had a lot of advantages. Officially naming themselves a year prior, Disney Plus could not possibly time their release any better than they initially did. Coming out right before the great lockdown of 2020, you now have direct-to-consumer streaming being one of the most sought-out forms of entertainment out there, and Disney just introduced their version to the public. A company that consistently tops the revenue charts every year and has pretty much been the king of entertainment for coming up on 100 years now. Animation, live action, established universes, new shows, it doesn't matter, as this company has subsidiaries that are casually making more than multiple other brands combined. That 60 to 90 million predicted total subscriptions by the year 2024 was of course absolutely shattered, with them crossing that 100 million total by around mid-2021. So again, how the heck did they end up knee-deep in losses if they have around double the subscriptions they predicted for 2024? As keep in mind, they predicted that they would become profitable by 2024 while simultaneously saying how that 60 to 90 million would be enough to hold them over. And well, their spending habits have been absolutely atrocious. A streaming wars of sorts developed from these new players entering into the market, filled with constantly up budgets and higher content acquisitions in order to compete for what seemed as if there were a limited amount of potential buyers. It is here that we find long-term heavy hitters such as Netflix would see their first quarter of subscription loss in over a decade to these hyper-competitive markets. Peacock, HBO Max, now named Max, Paramount Plus, everyone was throwing everything at the wall to build their catalog while simultaneously trying to pull as many viewers as possible in this incredibly volatile market. And Disney Plus was no different. In fact, Disney is probably one of the most prominent offenders out there, having egregious spending habits that include making multiple 6 to 9 episode Marvel series a year that cost around $25 million per episode to make, and similarly, no one knows where that budget is going into. In fact, Disney's spending habits as a whole have become so much of an issue that they have been heavy on cutting costs since pretty much the start of 2023. As with Disney Plus specifically, it's been stated that original streaming content will be made at a way lower rate before due to this budgeting. So yeah, long story short, multiple big swingers with only so many viewers willing to actually buy. Over 200 streaming services, and the average family only has around 3 to 4. Companies such as Disney saw that they weren't really making Netflix type profit or any profit at all. So a gradual shift happens where they are becoming more and more hungry for that immediate profit, even if it's at the cost of the platform's actual appeal. Like, take everything people like about streaming services, then water it down completely, because that's essentially what's happening with Disney Plus, as they cut those high costs and push that revenue up as much as possible, to the point of actually being to a detriment. Instead of building that catalog of interesting content to attract a variety of viewers, they are cutting everything before its release that they don't have faith in, taking those tax write-downs and write-offs, because guess what? It's better on the budget. Those reliable prices that make streaming the cheapest thing in the world, well, they are getting a little less cheap by the day, as price hikes are happening ever so often. And hey, if you do want to keep it cheap, well, don't worry, as they are very much willing to put you on their ad-supporting tier, so they are actually able to generate more income from individual subscriptions this way. Which, yeah, ads kind of fundamentally oppose the purpose of buying a streaming service, but it is what it is at this point. You could imagine that audiences aren't going to be too happy when certain changes are officially in place, as I wouldn't be surprised if we see yet another quarter of drop-off in subscriptions to round out 2023. I mean, they are literally either rising prices for you or making your viewing experience much less convenient, while simultaneously telling you that they are offering less content for this upped amount of commitment to their service. I think the worst part is that through all their mass effort to make sure this service works, Disney Plus goes on to have one of the most major impacts on their biggest entertainment moneymaker ever, that being their theatrical releases. I've talked about this plenty of times, but I can't emphasize how much this Disney magic is a thing of the past. These products aren't really drawing audiences with consistency anymore, as you could be a sequel, remake of a beloved franchise, or part of a major franchise already, and still somehow be left to semi-bomb in the market nowadays. And that's double if your franchise is animated. Disney Plus has just helped contribute to this culture of just waiting until it goes to streaming, dissipating any sense of urgency to enjoy these spectacles while they are on the big screen. It took a whole movement for their last animated piece just to break even, and with how Wish is looking so far from these teaser trailers, I'm just wishing for the best. I truly think subscription-based streaming, when in its purest form, has the potential to take over the entertainment industry completely, and yes, even more than they already have. This involves first taking it out the hands of these major production companies who are just looking to throw their weight around for any bit of attention, and back into the hands of these hardy distributors, eliminating a mass amount of that pesky oversaturation while allowing services to have an actual catalog filled with substance. Companies aren't as pushy as they will already be making their money through licensing, meaning that we can get back to prioritizing the user experience and still turning a profit. But hey, a man can only dream. The year of 2024 is going to be pretty vital for the sake of the Disney Plus system, as again, this is thought to be the time when the project is to finally start turning a profit. Questions are still flying around on if they can do so, considering the drastically contrasting state of their affairs depending on how you look at their statistics. Like, you can look at the fact that losses are down this most recent quarter compared to this same time last year as a sign for Disney Plus to maybe pull this off, but you can also look at the fact that it's still over $500 million of loss this time around as a sign that maybe 2024 isn't their year. Ultimately, Disney is big enough to just keep chugging along the service until it eventually does make money, even if it doesn't hit that 2024 deadline, just simply out of the fact that this is supposed to be the project that prolongs their dominance past the downfall of cable. I can even see a high possibility of them just merging all their streaming endeavors into one platform, similar to how Hulu and Disney Plus is sort of merged outside the US already. The streaming industry is just in a really inopportune state, and I honestly have no idea where it's going to go next. I've read a lot of quarterly reports, charts, and articles to make this video, so if you can please like and subscribe to the channel on the road to 5K. I appreciate y'all for sticking to the end, and let me know what videos you would like to see next.